Welcome to another Revenue Roundtable. I'm Mitch Lee, Profit Evangelist here at Vendavo, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about a topic that comes up a lot when people talk about pricing in B2C versus B2B. With me today is David Anderson, one of our principal business consultants here at Vendavo. And Dave, we're going to talk about price elasticity, right?
Right. I thought this would be an interesting topic to really, just think about and cover. I mean, price elasticity, I meet with a lot of customers over the course of a year in B2B selling scenarios. So businesses that are selling through sales teams to their customers. And, one thing I've noticed in these discussions is there's this general fascination with the topic of price elasticity. It's a topic that comes up a lot. I'm not exactly sure why it comes up so frequently, but it's like this,
Econ 101 in high school, right?
That's right. It's this area of focus, this phrase that comes up frequently when businesses are really thinking about the different things that they can work on from a pricing standpoint. There's often this desire that some aspect of those efforts is to actually go out and measure this apparent price volume relationship for their business.
And it's intuitively very straightforward and simple, right? We're supply and demand curves. You drop the price, you sell more, right? It's very attractive from that standpoint, right?
Right. It seems pretty logical. It's again going back to economics. If your price is lower, you're going to sell more. If your price is higher, you're going to sell less. That's the kind of general concept we're talking about. And I think in retail pricing, as you brought up, I think that this concept certainly, makes sense. In a retail scenario, you're kind of remote selling. You don't have a sales team necessarily talking to customers. Customers are basically just seeing your product, making a decision about that product, and that product is probably available from a number of different vendors. So, looking at pricing, there is this relationship that probably has value in the pricing decisions you should be making. But I think the discussion here today,
that's a case where it's the products are very fungible, right? They're very easily replaceable. There's not a lot of relationship tied into this. It's not a relationship selling per se. Yes, there's brand affiliations, but it's not like this salesperson has this connection with. So it starts to get a lot more complicated, I think is what you're saying, right?
Right. Yeah. So I think what I really wanted to talk about today is just the fact that in B2B, you have sales teams that are responsible for selling to customers, and the things that those sellers do in understanding the things that customers value about your products, communicating that value, kind of appreciating the context of the customer that they're talking to, and then the complexity of the products that you're selling. The things that sellers do, they massively overwhelm any kind of natural price volume effect in those selling situations. So, I think my general advice to B2B companies that I talk to is that a focus on price elasticity is interesting. There certainly is a general effect that price can have on whether a seller accepts, but in B2B, there's a long list of things that are relatively much more important than a focus on that kind of measured elasticity relationship for the things that you're selling.
Absolutely. I back before I was part of Vendavo, I had a product line that sold the plastics that went into the taillight on a Ford F-150. And I knew, in a B2B relationship, I had to get the right price to win the business. But by me decreasing my price 10% didn't mean I was going to sell 10% more product.
Right.
My product was derived demand. My little taillight plastic wasn't going to make Ford be able to sell 10% more pickups fundamentally, right?
No, exactly. So in retail, right, you drop the price of your product, you might expand the market that exists for that product. But for most B2B businesses, you're not going to increase the size of the market for your products by, reducing price. So I think, businesses should just kind of really think more carefully about that. But let's just talk a minute about the utility of that price volume measure. So again, companies I talk to, they want to measure and put effort into surveys and everything, actually put a number on that price volume effect, so that, in their belief, they would, if they drop price, they could predict, whether their sales are, going to go up and by what amount. So I'm here to argue that's like the 10th most important thing that a business should focus on in B2B pricing. Things like focus on understanding what your customers value in the product that you're selling, focusing on the sales, a conversation to really tease out the value that customers appreciate, and your kind of understanding and sense for how that translates into what they'd be willing to pay for your product. Focusing on things like selling process efficiency to increase selling time, and providing information to sellers to help their understanding of context when they're making those price decisions. That's just a few things that are kind of much more important than efforts to measure that price elasticity. When it comes to thinking about the overall kind of set of things and priorities that B2B businesses should be focused on from a pricing transformation standpoint.
Sure. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dave. The understanding how the customer uses your offer, your products or services to add value to their process, because they, whether they are articulate about it or not, there is something that they value in your ability to help them make more money. So having that conversation, understanding their process and what you do for them, you probably know that as well, but now you can surface that and make that a differentiating point in terms of retaining the business, but make it a differentiating point around value. It's all back to this value conversation, right? That's what pricing is all about.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you really kind of think about it back to the economics concept, if you're measuring price elasticity, you're trying to understand that pricing curve for your product. But my argument is sellers move the curve. You don't want to live on the curve. You want to move the curve, and the things you do in a selling effort, kind of massively overwhelm any natural, price elasticity measure that the business might obtain through efforts to do so.
Sounds good. So it's not irrelevant, but way down on the list.
Correct. It's always good. You can certainly study the different factors of a selling scenario in different customer groups, and appreciate, some of that price effect in those scenarios. But again, you should really be thinking about how does my team move the curve? I give them better information. I have better conversations with my customers, and I have basically a selling process that is drawn out to kind of maximize that value acceptance that customers would have in a sale.
Sounds good. Dave, I want to thank you for joining us today. This was a great conversation. I love talking this particular topic with you. We have great fun with this. So thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mitch.
Yeah. And for all those listening or watching today, be sure to contact us at profit@vendavo.com. Let us know if you have any topics you'd like for us to address at the next Revenue Roundtable. So until we speak again, have a profitable day.